Honorable Subhanjiran, please. Honorable Subhanjiran.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to speak on this no confidence motion on the Prime Minister today. A no confidence motion on a Prime Minister in any parliament is a very serious matter. Nobody moves a no confidence motion on a Prime Minister on trivial issues. And so this debate has to be conducted in a manner that requires the seriousness, and it's a matter of regret that those very members who have signed this motion have now reduced it to a joke. They themselves presented a motion, and not even halfway through the debate, we find that they have conceded that they cannot pass the motion, and they are reducing the debate and the parliament to a joke. When we participate in this debate, we want to constructively engage with the issues that have been raised. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition, who spoke earlier in the day, clarified our position with regard to corruption in this country. And I want to reiterate that fact that none of us want to allow corruption to continue in this country. This government particularly has received a mandate from the people to fight corruption. In the January 2015 presidential election, that was most pronounced. That was one of the key issues on which the people of this country voted for a common opposition candidate to fight corruption, but not only corruption, but there were very serious issues that were faced by this country that had to be addressed, resolved, and the direction that the country was taking had to be changed. And persons from very different political backgrounds joined hands in that exercise. All of us, having realized that the direction the country was taking must be changed, took that decision, and a common opposition candidate was decided upon, and all of us worked together and brought about that change. Thereafter, at the general election held in August 2015, a national government was formed, and that was put forward to the people. During the 8 months, the first 8 months in 2015, the idea of a national unity government was put forward. We had during that time the leader of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party as the president of the country, and the leader of the United National Party as the Prime Minister of the country, and they went before the people and asked for a mandate. That mandate was given. Unfortunately, people who were elected from, some who were elected from the United People's Freedom Alliance, the UPFA, decided to go against that mandate and left the government of national unity that was formed by the leaders of the two parties and chose to sit in the opposition. That was the first challenge that was posed to a government of national unity and a different direction the country had to continue in. And today, that group of MPs who worked against the mandate received by their party leader have forwarded a motion of no confidence on the Prime Minister. And that is one reason why we take the view that this is a first step in the assault against the government of national unity that has a popular people's mandate. Perhaps the second would be aimed at the Speaker's chair, and the third at impeaching the President himself. Now that design goes against the mandate that the people of this country from all parts, not just from one community, but from all communities, granted to mainly the two main parties of this country. There is in this motion that has been, that is under debate today, a certain reference to the events that occurred in the Kandy district, about which Honorable Rauf Hakim spoke in his address. But Honorable Hakim has missed a very important part in that reference in the motion. That part says that by failing to take immediate measures to provide protection to Sinhalese, Tamil and Muslim people, it says that the Prime Minister, as Minister in charge of law and order, failed to take immediate measures to provide protection to Sinhalese, Tamil and Muslim people. I wonder why Sinhalese and Tamils are mentioned in that section. The whole country knows, even today when Honorable Hakim made reference to that, even those who have signed this motion concede that that was violence against the Muslim people. This shows the mind of those who have signed this motion. They are so reluctant to say that the Muslim people were not protected. So they have to include the Sinhalese and the Tamils also in it. They are loath to concede that a minority section of this country, the people, were the targets of that violence. So one can see the racist outlook of those who have signed this motion, including Honorable Kada Mastan. I make mention of this because Honorable Bimal Ratnayaka referred to the fact that there is a rumor that's floating that says that the UNP should not win this vote of no confidence with the vote of the Tamil National Alliance, because that will be detrimental to them. It is the same racist thinking that says, that puts that thought forward. And I heard it a moment ago from the opposition bench, the last speaker, mentioning the TNA by name. It is a message to the majority people of this country. It is to arouse communal racist feelings within the majority community that these thoughts are being put forward. I'm asking you, What is wrong with the TNA voting in this motion before the House? Don't Tamil people have a right? Don't the Tamil people of this country have a democratic right to participate in this process? Is that what is being said? I don't know who said it. I don't know whether the president said it. Even if the president said it, I'm putting question to the president. If he said it. In fact, the rumor says that a particular minister asked the president, so it was good enough for you to win with the votes of the Tamil people, but the UNP should not win with the votes of the Tamil people. I hope the president did not say it. I hope it is only a rumor. But that thinking is prevalent, and that is a matter that I want to raise. That thinking says that they will have currency if that idea is floated. This, I think, is an issue of fundamental importance. So long as people think in those lines, there is no redemption for this country. So long as people think that it is only the Sinhalese or only the Buddhists matter in this country, there is no redemption for this country. And that is why we have repeatedly today, we are making mention of the mandate that this government got to draft and adopt a new constitution for this country, a new social contract in which all the people of this country for the first time can agree upon. The Honorable Leader of the Opposition read out the speech that the President made here, saying that previous constitutions there was no consensus. It is of utmost importance that the fundamental law of this country, the supreme law of this country, the social contract, has the consent of all the people. It certainly must have the consent of the Sinhala people, of the Buddhist people. After all, they are the majority in numbers. But that is not sufficient. It must have the consent of the Muslim people. It must have the consent of the Tamil people and all other different communities that live in this country. Only then this country can be called a united country. Only then this country can move forward. The one bane this country has suffered ever since independence is that fact. Non-acknowledgement of the fact that there are different peoples of this country who inhabit this island. And in the resolution that was put forward on the 9th of January 2016 and adopted on the 9th of March 2016, that was the effort that was started. And this House adopted that resolution unanimously. I heard Honorable Vimal Veeravansa say a moment ago that the Prime Minister has agreed with the Tamil National Alliance that a new constitution would be adopted in 3 months' time. So what is wrong with that? No, he has not given us any such guarantee. But he should. Of course, after all, it is this House that adopted that resolution unanimously. You were in this House when this House adopted that resolution unanimously. What were you doing then? You should be happy if it is adopted in 3 months' time without any further delay, because you were party to that resolution that was adopted by this House unanimously. That is not something that the Tamil National Alliance is doing secretly with the UNP or anybody else. There is a steering committee in which every political party represented in this House is a member. Even Mr. Douglas Devananda, a single member party, is represented in the steering committee. And an interim report was submitted in September last year to the Constitutional Assembly. 76 meetings were held by the steering committee, 6 subcommittees, another ad hoc committee. All of them are reported to the Constitutional Assembly. It's a joint effort. Nothing was being done behind anybody's back. And that is one reason why the Tamil National Alliance has consistently maintained that the new constitution must be put to the people at a referendum. The people of this country must agree and adopt that constitution, not to be done behind anybody's back. It is that kind of transparent procedure. And why is he pointing an accusing finger if that is to be done? We urge the government that proceedings must be restarted immediately. There has been a long delay, unnecessary delay. The Constitutional Assembly procedure must be expedited and brought to an end. After all, it is the unanimous view of this House that must happen. So we raise this issue with the government now, that must be done. There are several other issues, and I want to itemize them and mention them here today. Whatever happens to this motion, this is also an opportunity for us, as substantially representing the Tamil people from the north and east, to openly lay before this House, before the President and the Prime Minister, various concerns that we have with regard to the performance of this government in the last 3 years. Our people are most disgruntled, very disappointed. There is no problem with the direction in which the government is moving. The direction was changed, but it's not moving most of the time. Or it's so slow that you can't notice the movement. And that has affected, that is seriously affecting the lives of our people. We have constantly raised the issue of Tamil political prisoners, and I use that word advisedly, political prisoners. If it was all right for Janata Vimukti Peramuna, who took up arms twice against the lawfully constituted government of this country, to be pardoned, because all they tried to do was achieve a political objective, and that is why they were political prisoners. So are those detained under the Prevention of Terrorism Act now. They were only attempting to achieve a political objective. Several of them have spent 20 years in prison without their case concluding. The maximum penalty under the PTA is 20 years. Case is not concluded. That armed revolt is over. It was over 9 years ago. That political objective is no more extant in this country. Our people have repeatedly thereafter in the last 9 years voted for us, who repeatedly say we stand for a united, undivided, indivisible country. There is that political objective no longer exists. Why can't you pardon those who have been convicted under the PTA? Why can't you release the others who have been held in long detention? What the Mahinda Rajapaksa government did, you are unable to do. They released near 12,000 cadres of the LTTE who fought in the final war after a 2-year rehabilitation. And you are still keeping people who gave a food packet to someone 20 years ago still being detained. Naturally, our people are very, very concerned and asking and questioning the bona fides of this government. Land releases. President Maithripala Sirisena gave a written undertaking. That was the only written undertaking given. And I'm glad Honorable Minister Champika Ranawake is here with regard to land releases. You will remember, you wrote it with your own hand, the promise that was to be given by candidate Maithripala Sirisena, and it was sent to him when he was in the East about private lands being released before the presidential election. Nobody objects to that. No one in this country objects to that. There is no war in this country. Security concerns are legitimate. And for security purposes, if the military requires land, that can be held by the military. We are not opposed to that. But this is large swaths of land. Still, even today, we acknowledge that a lot has been done, but not enough. This was to have been done in 100 days. Now, after 3 years, we are still struggling. Farms, government farms, are still being held and being cultivated by the military. Now, why does the military have to do this? 13 such farms in the north alone are being run by the military. They are running preschools close to that. Those children wear military emblems. Do we need this 9 years after the war ended? How do you work for reconciliation? How do you turn the minds, the hearts of those people if such intense military presence continues? The repeal of the Prevention of Terrorism Act, and government promised a counter-terrorism act would be enacted in its place. I know that the process is on, but how long is it going on? The PTA that was brought into operation in 1979 as a temporary provisions bill, even today, the title to that act says Temporary Provisions Act for 6 months. Then it was extended until 1981, and then that clause that said it is temporary was removed, but the title is still temporary. 30 years, Temporary Provisions Act. 9 years after the armed revolt ended, still extant. Why can't that be repealed immediately? Is anybody in this house opposed to that? There are serious complaints from our people in the north and east. Administrative structures, local government structures. Honorable Rauf Hakim, there will be a long-standing demand to upgrade the Tamil Divisional Secretary area in Kalmuna. In 1993, a cabinet decision was taken, still not implemented. And Honorable Minister, we require your intervention in this, your cooperation in this. Thank you. There are other issues like appointing government agents in the north and the east. Areas that are near 100% Tamil, and you know the language of administration is Tamil. Government agents are being sent who do not know Tamil. How do they carry out their work? There was one government agent in Vavuniya, Mr. Pushpa Kumara. He was conversant in Tamil. He worked in Tamil. But others are not. And how can they perform? Presently in Vavuniya and in Mana, both government agents cannot function in Tamil. It is not that there are no officers available. There are enough Tamil officers available. So naturally our people are asking us this question. You support this government. You say they are working for reconciliation. But see what's happening here. Government jobs. Recently, 6 drivers turned up in the Jaffna Kacheri who are residents of Galle. Now, why should drivers to Jaffna be appointed from Galle? Yes. And peons and security guards to schools are appointed from Kuliyapitiya. In fact, one of our MPs the other day spoke saying that the the reason for coconut prices to rise is because there is nobody available to pluck coconuts in Puliapit here. They have all been given PN jobs and sent to Jaffna. Sports Ministry, yeah. Yeah, so this is a, now I can see accusations being traded from this side to that. That's a culture, political patronage, right? No, we don't take, wait, we don't take political office, right? And no political patronage comes out from us. We have a right.
Please don't disturb. You go ahead. No, you go ahead. Don't get entangled. You go ahead.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Otherwise, unnecessary.
No, we have a right to participate. Again, that is being questioned unnecessarily. There were factories that were closed in the north and the east due to the war. None of it has still been resuscitated, restarted. We have been asking the government that would provide employment to our people. Unemployment is a very serious issue there. Then there is a very important issue of Mahaweli development.
Honorable member, you have 4 more minutes. Huh?
Right, thank you, sir. Mahaweli development. This has been a serious issue over the years, several decades, of areas being demarcated as Mahaweli areas, and the ordinary laws of land alienation, etc., does not apply. And then there is forced colonization that happens. This has happened in several schemes of the Mahaweli, and this was the reason why in 1957 Banda Chelva Pact, and in 65 very particularly in Dudley Chelva Pact, land alienation principles were enunciated. This is one of the root causes of the conflict. It's still being perpetuated. We want the water, but give us only the water. We have people there who can use the water, who need water. Presently in Mullaitivu district, there is efforts being taken to only bring people, not water. There are people living there who need water. Send the water, we will gladly receive it. Don't send the people there. Any land to be alienated, do it in a way with preference to people of that district, landless people of that district, without affecting the demography. This is a very, very sensitive issue, and I want to raise it publicly today with the government. Migrant fishermen in the north and east, particularly in Mullaitivu areas, there has been a practice. Migrant fishermen do come from the west, various seasons. But there have been laws, there have been long-standing practices as to how that is done. All that is being violated with permits being given by Director General of Fisheries against the law with the active support of the military who is present there. This has gone on for several years, still happening. The Minister of Fisheries came, had a discussion in the district secretariat in Mullaitivu and gave orders to stop that. The very next day, that is violated. So these are issues that we want to publicly and transparently, openly raise with the government today, at a time when, for other reasons, a vote of no confidence has been moved. We will not be party to further those other objectives of others who have moved this as a first step towards destabilizing the National Unity Government and turning the direction of this government back again to destructive path. We will not lend our hand to that. We are very clear with regard to the mandate that the people of this country gave President Maithripala Sirisena and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, and there is yet time for them to complete their mandate. We are disappointed with the progress. But nevertheless, we want that done in the remaining 2 years that this government has.
Time is ending, honorable member. So,
and therefore, we will act in this House today with a view to giving the government that space to complete the performance of that mandate. Thank you.
Garu Navin